listeners, this is an exciting time. And you know what, Bob? This is a topic we have not chatted about in some time. So, even for the benefit of our new listeners and benefit of our loyal listeners, coming back to the topic of metabolic efficiency and benefits for really embracing what this concept is and learning what to do to make oneself more metabolically efficient. I think now is a really great time of the year to revisit the topic, especially with you releasing the third edition of the resource, the book, Metabolic Efficiency Training. There are a lot of excellent updates that you've provided since your last edition of the book. And so, what an opportune time to share this with our listeners.
Well, thanks, Dee. Thanks for having me on this podcast. Oh, I'm
Well,
just
yes,
kidding. That's just
welcome.
well, it's weird because when you were saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, we haven't talked about this for a while. Yet I
Yeah.
talk about it every day. Like this is the foundation of everything I do. But we haven't mentioned it in a while. So it's for you listeners out there that have been with us for a while, don't push stop, don't put your phone down. I mean, we're actually going to share some really good golden nuggets that you may not have heard before. And for our new listeners, welcome, right? We're gonna not dissect the topic of metabolic efficiency. What we're gonna get to is, listen, it's race season, it's competition season, it's right around the corner, and metabolic efficiency training. If you've been putting it off, if you're like, oh my gosh, I should really do this before I toe the line, I start my races, my events, whatever. Well, now's the time. And so we're gonna give you those very practical how-to tips of improving your body's ability to use its nutrients better. And we'll get into that. But I kind of feel like I need to do a quick little background, like what the heck are we talking about for our new listeners,
I
right?
think that's helpful.
Okay, so
Yeah.
metabolic efficiency training is basically using food primarily and exercise to improve your body's ability to use the stores of carbohydrate and fat more efficiently. So that's why I called it metabolic efficiency training. I created this concept literally 20 years ago. It's actually probably just over 20 years ago now, which is kind of freaky, really dated myself there. Nonetheless, metabolic efficiency training is basically dietary strategies where we periodize carbohydrate, protein, and fat differently to elicit optimal blood sugar results. So the name of the game is putting food together to optimize blood sugar. Now, there are some times of the year where you may want to improve your fat burning response. And thus, if you do that, you actually preserve or store carbohydrates better. Or there might be some times, and I've worked with some athletes, as Dina has also, where maybe you want to improve your carbohydrate burning and you, dare I say, want to store more fat. And that's cool too, right? The beauty of metabolic efficiency training is that it's not a diet. It is literally just periodizing your nutrition, your daily nutrition, to what you need to have done inside your body or even outside your body if we're talking about aesthetics and body composition. So that's the really 10 to 30,000 foot view in less than 2 minutes.
I think it's helpful, Bob, just to make that connection that your daily nutrition pattern influences how your body uses fuels during the exercise we do, because that gets missed so much still to this day. Those
Hmm.
that talk about, your carb burning when you are competing as an athlete or your fat burning is just a reflection of your training. And so I think that's important that you brought up. And maybe we have to say it a couple different ways for those that are just like not making that kind of tie over from like how you feed yourself every day
Hmm.
impacts even how you might feed during your exercise training and racing.
Yeah, it sets it up. So
Yeah.
it absolutely does it. We both have athletes who have been like, "Oh, well, yeah, I'm gonna eat however I want, and then I can just kind of quote unquote make it up in training nutrition, like nutrient timing, like when I'm on a bike or on that trail or something." Like, no, you can't, because literally your daily nutrition sets up everything. So, and that is why I introduced it that way. And just remember this, approximately 75% of you improving your body's ability to use its stores of either carbohydrate or fat is attributable to your daily nutrition, up to 75%. So that's no joke. And we've talked about this before too, Dean. I've taken so many athletes through this and thousands over the past, 2 decades. And sometimes I don't even talk to them about exercise, which I do want to mention in 1 second. I only manipulate their nutrition. And guess what? We see amazing results in improving metabolic efficiency because three-quarters of the equation is all nutrition. But I think before we start down that path, Dee, let's just address exercise really quick because I'm actually not going to talk about that too much at all. And only because listeners, it's not to disregard exercise, it's super important. But because you're getting close to your race season, I don't want to, even though I am a coach, I'm not going to tell you how to train unless you're my athlete, right? Unless I'm periodizing your training. So I want to be respectful of what you listeners are doing with your coaches or following your training programs. But here's the beauty of this exercise, specifically aerobic exercise, because aerobic exercise, which sidebar can be defined as zone one or zone two training for the most part, that affects the mitochondria. So we're talking about improving the mitochondria functioning, aerobic respiration, the Krebs cycle, improving fat burning basically with exercise. However, that zone one, zone two training exercise is only 25% of the equation, if that. And again, I feel very strongly and very accurate with these numbers because I've actually done both of these examples and experiments on many athletes where I just change their nutrition and not their exercise, and just change their exercise and not their nutrition. And guess what we see the most robust change being when we change nutrition. So it's not to discount exercise, but as you'll hear me say just briefly, if you want to use exercise to improve your metabolic efficiency, do low intensity aerobic exercise. But here's the thing, D. I don't know if you've been hearing athletes say this. I still have a couple athletes always approach me like, oh, so basically I need to just do 100% of my training in zone one, zone two, and I'll be more metabolically efficient. Well, yes and no. You will be more metabolically efficient, but you're probably not going to achieve your performance goals this year if
Yeah,
if it requires being out of zone one or zone two,
right.
right?
Do you want to touch on, Bob, who this is for? Like, who should be paying attention right now as we're talking about metabolic efficiency training?
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, let me start with who it is not for. How about that?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
That was your answer. Literally,
I
that
love
was your
it.
answer.
I know.
Okay. So this is like metabolic efficiency training. Listen, when I created this 2 decades ago, it was literally I knew I did not want to put diet in the name because it is not that. It is a lifestyle program that basically changes as your needs change, as your health needs change, as your aging longevity changes, as your health goals change, and as your performance goals change. So I've seen even personally, D, like when I first created this, I was a triathlete, right? I was a short course triathlete and kind of a shorter distance runner. And through my evolution at getting to become a master's athlete, like I've gone through everything from Ironman training to Spartan racing to what else? What else have I done? Ultra running, ultra
Ultra.
cycling,
Yep.
hiking, like all these different things, right? And so here's the beautiful thing about it it follows you throughout your exercise life, throughout your competition season or seasons throughout your life. So you
Yeah.
don't necessarily have to be an athlete how some people define athletes, like, winning gold medals, getting on the podium. You just need to be someone who cares about your health and your fitness. That's
Yeah.
really it. Right? So
And ready.
kids,
Yes.
yeah, and and
Yes.
and and that's actually I'm going to address that here in a
Okay.
second. But you can, I mean, I use this with kids. I use this with older adults who are not active that much. I mean, you name it, it just about fits. Now, maybe people with certain medical disorders or diseases. Okay, maybe this isn't the primary because we have to obviously address the medical consequence first. But for more healthy individuals, and even I mean, and you know this, like we've used this on pre-diabetics, on
Yeah.
diabetics before. It works wonderful. So that's a long-winded way of saying it. I use it on just about everybody.
Do you want to talk to, like, how do I know what my current status is of my
Mm.
body's, how is my body using its fuels right now before I do what is in your book?
Yeah, it's such a tricky one, D, because I almost not I don't enjoy saying this, but I do enjoy saying this all in the same breath because you literally do not know what is happening inside your body unless you have testing done. And that can relate to cholesterol, blood lipids, thyroid, hormones, like you just can't guess. And it's kind of the same thing with metabolic efficiency because, with along with this concept, about 6 months after I developed the concept, I actually developed the testing protocol to be able to quantify if you made dietary changes, would those actually work? So yeah, we can test how your daily nutrition is responding currently, which we usually do with our first metabolic efficiency test. And then, as sport dietitians, what we do is we craft a daily nutrition plan based on your health goals, your longevity, your athletic performance, set you up on a good daily nutrition plan, and then retest you to be able to determine if it's actually working or not. So
Right.
the reason I hate to say that is because it requires you to do a test, and I get it. Like some people, and I've heard from, so many athletes are like, listen, I just don't have that resource where I live. And I get that, right? I get that. So there are some subjective things to note, but you can't quantify subjective items, unfortunately.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
the gold standard is having a metabolic efficiency test done. Now, the good news is there are, along with this, I actually created a certification and mentorship. The reason, so I actually certify health professionals in this concept. The great thing about that, why I'm saying that, is because there are health professionals around the country and actually around the world who do provide testing. So if you go to my website, energyperformance.com, you can click on um, the metabolic efficiency tab and find maybe a professional near you that actually does the testing. That would be super cool and super convenient. If not, of course, you can come out to Colorado and visit Dina and I, right? I mean, that'd be super awesome. It's Colorado, for God's sake, right? I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, but the unfortunate part is, yeah, testing will absolutely nail it down. You can guess, and listen, we do this every day with athletes, right, who can't do the testing, and we're pretty good at this, but it's still guessing, right? It's
Hmm.
still it's still a guess.
I'm thinking too, just like piquing the curiosity of the listeners who are newer to this concept or those that, really hadn't paid attention before, Bob, speaking to the outcomes, because that's, I think, what gets
Mm,
people in. I mean, it's cool to learn about this stuff,
yeah,
but
yeah,
what
yeah,
does it buy me?
yeah.
The testing or just implementing the nutrition protocols. What might one expect with their health and performance?
Wow, you sound like an athlete customer that could be potentially knocking on our door here.
Well, I think
Why
it's
should I pay for
helpful
this test? Yeah.
because you
Well,
and I are passionate about it, but who cares about
exactly.
that?
Yeah.
So we want to know what
Well,
it's going to do for us.
yeah, I mean, I look at health first. I really do. I mean, even
Hmm.
as a sport dietitian, as a master's athlete, where performance is so important, but health trumps that. Like, if you're not healthy, you can't perform, right? So,
Yeah.
I look at all the health benefits first. So, by doing the test, what are you going to learn? Well, you're going to learn how your body uses carbohydrate and fat, which, okay, that's great, like you said, but who cares, right? What you get from that, I feel, is when you learn that by a qualified expert who's doing the test, you actually get a customized nutrition plan. So that takes away every guessing game you've ever done with your nutrition because now you can say, oh, based on my physiology, this is how my body metabolizes carbohydrate and fat either efficiently or inefficiently. Thus, I need a custom nutrition plan to support my physiology or at least where I want my physiology to be, right? So,
Yeah.
as an example, we've had a lot of athletes come visit us and they're like, hey, I don't know what I want out of this yet. And we do the test and we find out they are quote unquote carb burners, right? Sugar burners. Let's put up
Hmm.
the air quotes, rabbit ears for that one. And, they sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. Like I have family history of diabetes, of heart disease, of all these things. I need to lose weight. I need to lose fat. I don't feel good. I nap in the afternoon. I can't keep up with my kids. Like these are all things that you actually fix through nutrition, but you don't know where to start until you have the first piece of information, which is what is going on inside your body. So I kind of I kind of went around it, but I gave some benefits there. Like, listen, if you're extremely tired between 1 and 4 p.m., like you feel like you need to take a nap and you're just crashing, you need some sugar, caffeine, well, that's a sign that something is going on. If you just can't like wake up in the morning, aside from bad sleep hygiene, that's a sign that something's going on. If you're aging, male or female, and you're around the 45 to probably 55 and you're starting to gain weight and stuff, hormones are doing some weird
Yeah.
stuff, well, we should probably address that, right? And not that metabolic efficiency tests hormones, but you see what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right? All of this is tied to nutrition.
Yeah.
Everything we do is tied to nutrition. So if you don't understand how your body uses carbohydrates and fat efficiently or inefficiently, how do you even know where to start? Like it's
Hmm.
literally just like blindfolded, throwing a dart at the wall, and you don't even know where the wall is.
I find it helpful specifically when you're talking about the 45 older, like for our perimenopause
Hmm.
women in that phase, which can be 10 years, right, Bob?
Yeah.
But implementing some of these nutrition strategies definitely can lessen the severity or intensity of some of the menopause symptoms, which is like, I
Hmm.
don't think you thought about that 20 years ago or whatever,
Hmm.
or maybe didn't realize that, wow, this can be a super powerful effect in this particular subset of our population.
Yeah, and even on the male side of things, right? I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately, our testosterone decreases as we age. And again, not that metabolic efficiency testing measures this, but we get some hints in terms of your daily nutrition and where some deficiencies are just by knowing how your body uses carbohydrate and fat. And again, it's not for males, it's not predicting you have high or low testosterone, but I can get a pretty good idea based on your health goals, i.e., a lot of guys come to me like, hey, I'm getting older, I'm getting more belly fat, like what's going on here?
Hmm.
And the metabolic efficiency results. Because usually, I would say 9 times out of 10, if I'm just targeting males right now, because you hit the females, D, I see 9 out of 10 males coming to me at that age category, like over 40, let's call it. They want to lose weight, they want to lose body fat, they don't know what's happening. They've tried some things, they've tried some quote unquote diets.
Yeah.
It's not until we actually measure their inefficiency, really, of carbohydrate utilization, fat utilization. I mean, their nutrition, their daily nutrition is totally off for their aging process. Like they're eating how they should have been eating as a college student or in their 20s, 30s. And sorry, it just doesn't work anymore. Like, has anyone told you that, listeners? Like what you're doing now, it like nutritionally should not be the same plan you were doing even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like that's how biology works. Like it's like we gotta keep up with biology here.
I'm thinking too, just specific, even though you touched on this a little bit, what type of athletes, we could say any kind of
Oh
athlete,
yeah.
but
Hmm.
I know one of the original, like the pretext behind all of this was addressing gut issues,
Hmm.
right? As how part of this concept came to be. And so then I think of like my ultra runners who have such high rates of GI distress. And so, like that particular kind of athlete, I guess no matter what sport you do, but if it is one where you are out for many hours and you're fueling yourself, and if you're having GI issues, like this strategy or the set of strategies that come with metabolic efficiency training can definitely make an impact. Whether or not you're going low carb, high carb, moderate carb, whatever your strategy is, like getting to the root of it and changing the way, as you noted earlier, like how the body uses fuels can directly impact what we
Hmm.
choose to fuel with and then how the body responds. But I didn't know if we wanted to add anything else there in terms of specific kinds of athletes or other things we're trying to resolve.
Yeah, I think it's a good point because we could just start listing off the athletes and the categories and stuff, which
Yeah.
is great. Don't get me wrong, but I've started to look at the difference really to the different categories of need, right?
Yeah.
So is it need based because you're having GI symptoms? So that's a need base.
Hmm.
Is it need based because you are possibly fluctuating in your body weight? You can't figure it out. Something's going on, like you're getting very frustrated. You've tried everything. That category. Is another category. Listen, I'm having some serious like brain fog, head cloudiness, cannot concentrate. So now we're talking about cognitive decline symptoms, right? So I like to kind of put it in different categories because, yeah, in the early days, I did develop this really the whole thing because of GI distress. I wanted to eliminate the GI distress monster because it was, unfortunately, it was near and dear to my heart, and I wanted to fix it in myself. Thus, a lot of the different athletes that I was seeing at that time were endurance athletes who were feeling and experiencing the same thing. So we know that doing this test and following this method can eliminate GI distress. So again, that's a category. But
Yeah.
what we also know is it's evolved from just endurance athletes, which is what I set out to do most of this with. So yeah, ultra runners, ultra cyclists, fast packers, like you name it, anyone that's out there for a while, this makes total sense. But a lot of recreational athletes who are just literally they're confused because this is the category of I don't know, like they throw up their hands in the air, like I don't know how to eat because maybe again, it's the whole thing how I ate 10 years ago. I'm eating the same, but my body's not changing, or it is changing, right? So I feel like that confusion category is up there too, because I test a lot of recreational people, and maybe they're not even athletes and maybe like competing in an event, right? But they're keeping fit, they're doing some workouts and stuff, but they're so frustrated because they don't know what's going on with their bodies, right? This helps answer that because again, it's kind of customizing a nutrition plan based on their needs, not just,
Yeah,
a gender-based need or a
right.
age-based need.
That's
Now, I've
helpful.
also measured this though in like young, yeah, like the youngest I've measured is
Mhm.
actually 14-year-old who was a cross-country runner, so a little bit more endurance, although you can argue that. But I've also measured team sports, hockey players, gymnasts. So listen, it's not just one category of athlete.
Cool. Well, what else would you like to add here, Bob, in terms
Yeah,
of, yeah, the impact of implementing the strategies? Or, I mean, we're not giving away everything, and
yeah.
there's so much more we could talk about. But
There's a ton, right? I want
yeah,
to bring up a couple things. First, I just want to preface this whole thing that I'm going to talk about for the next few minutes. Whenever you change your nutrition, you need to change your behavior, right? Changing behavior is not easy. And that's actually where the testing comes in because it helps to get you a little bit farther down the road of trying to change a behavior. But anyway, I'm going to tell you some tips I have, but I want to acknowledge that not everybody is in the same place of changing a behavior. So, maybe Dino is like, "Oh yeah, I'm so ramped up. I want to do this. Just tell me what to do." And then maybe Jack is like, "You know what? Just I'm not really like I'll listen to you, but I'm not really ready to do anything yet about it." So please, listeners, just respect where you're at in your behavior change, which we call it kind of the stage of change. Okay. That all said, this is like, I want to make it as easy as possible. Metabolic efficiency training, kind of like I mentioned earlier, is literally just putting food together to optimize blood sugar. So if you think about this, here's what you need to think about. Okay, I'm going to give you some steps. First step, and I'm going to apologize right now, D. I'm going to be very blunt. I usually don't do this, but you know what? It's time, right? It's the corner is right around, and listen, your competition season is there, and I'm not going to joke around right now. Okay, so step one, get the added sugars out of your nutrition plan. Any added sugars that you can, drop them, drop them. And I know I'm going to get some backlash with that, but I kind of want that, right? I want some discussion around that. But I'm talking about like the added sugars. I'm not talking about fruits and veggies and all that stuff. I'm talking about added that just should not be there in high quantities. Now, I get it. As an athlete, you're going to have to consume some type of added sugars. Or do you?
and you're
Hmm.
talking about daily nutrition, or
Daily
what about?
nutrition.
Okay,
Yeah, daily. Actually, let's lump it into everything, daily and training, right? So, but let's focus on daily first. So, yeah,
okay.
daily nutrition. Like, I mean, I'm not saying don't eat any added sugar. It's pretty difficult to do that, but just reduce them as much as possible, right? Those are not helping your metabolic efficiency. They're not helping your health. They're not helping inflammation. They're not helping your brain functioning. Okay. Yeah, and in terms of training nutrition too, that's where I think I'll spark some debate. Like, you don't need a lot of simple
Yeah.
sugars during training. Well, yes and no. Like, that's where it depends. So I'm not going to open up that Pandora's box. Let's just say that if you'd like to have that discussion with us, head on over to our Patreon account, patreon.com/ISN podcast, and we can have a nice discussion about simple sugars and nutrient timing. But step one, try to reduce added sugars as much as possible in your daily nutrition. Step two, literally increase your protein. I don't know how many times Dean and I have told you this on this podcast, right? How many times have we, D? We should count
Uh,
that.
that's yeah, that might be an award-winning
It might
metric
be, right?
there.
And only because what we know, and you've heard me saying we want to optimize blood sugar, protein is just a powerhouse macronutrient because it can stabilize your blood sugar all by itself sometimes, right? It depends on the protein source that you use, but
Yeah.
like from Whole Foods, right? We know, not Whole Foods, the store, from
Yeah.
Whole Foods. We know protein is just a powerhouse in stabilizing your blood sugar, and that helps with metabolic efficiency. So that is always like, let's call that step one, step two, if we kind of take the added sugars out as a step. Step two in this, so we're kind of doing step one is add more protein. Step two is add more fiber
Hmm.
because fiber also helps stabilize blood sugar. Where do we find fiber, D?
I'm going to pick vegetables as one of the
Yes.
starters, but yeah,
Yes.
veg, fruit, your whole grains, nuts, seeds,
Beans,
those
although those
goody.
are
Yeah, the
kind
beans.
of
Yeah.
tricky. I found that beans are kind of tricky when you get a little bit older, but that's
Hmm.
another conversation. Anyway,
Yeah.
super easy to get fiber-rich foods is what I'm hearing from you, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And then the last one is you actually want fat. You want to eat fat, right? And a lot of times, if you are not vegan, you will likely get a good amount of fat through your protein sources, unless you're really nitpicking the leanness of your protein sources. And again, I get that. We're not going to talk about that, but we need protein, we need fiber, we need fat. So that's step one, step two, step three. The precursor step is reducing your added sugars as much as possible. But listen, if you just tackle the add protein, add fiber, and then either you count on the protein source being your fat source or just adding a little bit of olive oil, avocados, olives, whatever, nuts, seeds, that will optimize your blood sugar. Then, of course, the next step in the next question we get from a lot of people is, well, how much should I eat though? Like, how do I put this together? Well, that's a little bit farther from the scope of what we're talking about today, because that's a deep dive, right? Because
Yeah.
that's more individual. But Dina, isn't that what we do after we do a metabolic efficiency test?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're meeting the athlete or the person wherever they are. So, wherever you are in your training season, racing season, health journey,
Hmm.
what, so yeah, we help you learn how to adjust those amounts and those kinds of foods based on what it is we're looking at. So, that's why
Yep,
we can't say there's one way to do this thing throughout
exactly.
eternity
Exactly.
to be
And
dramatic.
yeah, yeah. And I've actually added another step, D. And it's not nutrition based. It is actually physical activity based. So it's
Hmm.
it's kind of non-purposeful activity,
Yep.
if you will. It's not purposeful exercise, if you will. So my fourth step is walk or move, I should say, for 10 to 15 minutes after every meal. If
Yep.
you can do that, that will also help stabilize or optimize blood sugar. So you see what we're doing, listeners, here is we're packaging everything. Metabolic efficiency training is all about using fat to optimize blood sugar. Well, we can also use some activity, some movement to also optimize blood sugar after you eat. So
Yeah.
walk around your house, walk around the office building, walk your dog if you want to, or
Right.
just maybe do some body weight, like go up and down stairs for 10 minutes. Like not many people will do that, but you know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
move for 10 or 15 minutes. More is certainly better for heart health and brain health and everything, but I give it like 10, 15 minutes as my fourth step.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's a great one to be including, Bob. I think too, I mean, the ancillary is like these other lifestyle things that we talk about as part of this service and everything, like the sleep and so
Hmm.
on. But definitely you are hitting the big rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this, I want to just point out there again, this is not a diet. When I created this, I did not mean for any of this to be complicated. And so everything that you will hear from and see from Dina and I, and even all the other metabolic efficiency testing specialists that I've certified over the world, they will all come at it from the how do we make this as simple as possible? Right? That is the
Hmm.
goal of metabolic efficiency training. How do we optimize your blood sugar in the simplest manner so you don't have a lot of homework, you don't have a lot of, brain power you have to do with this, you don't have to eliminate or restrict food, of course, unless you have intolerances or allergies or medical conditions. But we want to make this simple, and that's why it is just about like breaking this down a little bit and breaking down the barriers and getting away from the diet culture and the diet handcuffs.
I mean, you talk about it so well in the book, Bob, the third
Oh,
edition here that
thank
I'm showing
you.
on the screen for
Thank
those
you.
watching. But yeah, I think this is where you can go. Bob's latest edition, the third edition of the Metabolic Efficiency Training resource. And is there an electronic version, digital
There
version as well?
is.
Okay, so
Yes.
hard
Yes.
copy or electronic version
Yep.
to get more of a deep dive in how to do this for yourself, or certainly hitting up the Energy Performance website to see where a certified practitioner is in your area or virtual that you could work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks, Bob. I think this is a really good kind of refresher on the highlights and the very powerful impact that this can have on one's health and performance.
Oh, and it's amazing. Haven't we seen just hundreds of people be like, "Oh my God, this is the best. Like, thank you so much." And it's like the feedback we get is amazing. And I think part of it is because people are like, "Thank God we don't have to follow a diet anymore." Right? I
Yeah.
get that a lot. Like,
Hmm.
wow, I can finally have a good relationship with food. I finally understand this. I don't have to count, I don't have to measure. I do want to say just regarding my book really quick, T, to make it even easier. Yes, you can go to my website to get the hard copy or the digital, energyperformance.com. But the hard copy is also available on Amazon. So how easy is that, Prime members, right?
Super. Love it.
All
I
right.
li-
So I think that's good for today, Dee. I think what I'd
yeah.
like to do, listeners, like I said earlier, like go over to our patreon.com account, patreon.com/ISN podcast. Let's engage in some metabolic efficiency training discussions. You can join our what is that? Patreon world for
Yes.
free, right? You can
Yes.
also be a paid member if you want to. Every month you can give us a couple bucks. We would appreciate it because we are a sponsorless podcast. We do not accept sponsors because we want to talk about what we want to talk about and promote what we want to promote, like,
Yeah.
metabolic efficiency training. But yeah, anything helps. If you do want to sign up as a paying member, we do a lot of special bonuses behind the scenes that are only for our paid members. But hey, we would just love to have you over there just to start some conversations.
And I'm going to be sharing some my recent testing, Bob, over there on patreon.com. We
Oh, you
may touch
tested
on it.
yourself.
Yeah, so that's going to be a fun share.
Love it.
But
Because Dina,
anyway,
you haven't done a test on yourself in a while. So
it's
this will be
been,
really interesting data.
yeah, it was 2023, I think,
Wow.
before I did
Okay.
the 100 miler.
Yep.
And because I had knee surgeries last year, so that did
Then you
not
had to
bode
go
well.
skiing. And so
I
you took a little ski
know,
trip for a
but we're
while.
back online, so taking a
Yeah.
baseline measurement to see what's going on. So that's been really
Perfect.
helpful for,
Yeah.
like walk the talk kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll
So,
post that in our paying membership site of our Patreon accounts, just so everyone can see what Dina looks like now under the
yes,
microscope, so to
I
speak.
know. Super fun.
All right. Well, listeners, as always, we appreciate you. Thanks for listening, and we will see you on our next episode.